Okay, this week, the technology article I picked is Interactive Whiteboards in Mathematics Spaces, an examination of technology integration in an urban middle school. I picked this one because, as you can see, all three authors were from Texas. It's been known that technology is going to be in the classroom and it's here to stay. So out with the old and in with the new. This interactive whiteboard, and you'll see it in some of my presentation. I put IWB. It's replacing the old traditional dry erase boards, or obviously the chalkboards, if you have any of those left. And it's not just an electric dry erase, as some people might think of it. The interactive whiteboard can do many things. It allows teachers to teach and have things presented on the whiteboard, and they can go back and forth between examples and the presentations or representations. All of the lessons and examples and interactive software things, they're all digitally uploaded. With this said, everything that the teacher is doing, it's already loaded, should be loaded before you go to class. So this creates more class time and interaction time for the students to discuss and maybe work things, be able to interact with the whiteboard itself, and you're more prepared. The teachers can access the pre-created lessons. They can go back to the old lessons they've done, and everything's very interactive. The features of the interactive whiteboard is hopefully it is centrally located in the classroom where everyone can see. Like I've said, it's very interactive. The students can go up and work on it, choose problems, write on it, find an answer, multiple choice. I mean, there's so many different things. And with this said, the teacher can actually adapt the lessons to different learning preferences. And yes, I had to change it because it said learning styles. For the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, it's all worked in there. You could get all learner preference styles in there, and you can store and record the material that you've used. Like I said, you could go back and you store it for that day ahead or the next day. And to me, it'd be I would love that. But the purpose of this study, they had two questions that they wanted to get answered, and is what is the impact of the integration of interactive whiteboard technology on mathematics achievement in an urban middle school? And after receiving the instruction with the interactive whiteboard, can achievement be differentiated by student gender, race, or ability? The method they used to gather their information was called a quasi-experimental design. So if you're not familiar with that, it is an experiment where the units are not assigned to conditions randomly. They purposefully picked and chose what was going to happen and what students went with. So now the two different kinds of whiteboards they did use in the experiment were the Mimeo board and the InterWrite board. And I'm not familiar with either one of those. But so there were 8 teachers in this experiment. They participated and taught the experimental group, which did have the InterWrite board instruction, and that was 716 students that had the interactive whiteboard instruction. The control group, however, did not receive that whiteboard instruction, and there were 856 students of those. Now, because it was not a random, the students all had to be very similar in their status. So they were all from the same school. They were all low income, and this one in particular had 92.3% of either free or reduced lunches. They had to be the same race, background, prior achievement in the subject. So they purposely picked the students that they chose for the. Now, with that said, the results from this, what they did was they matched the students with their their tech scores. They were leveled in the control group sample was different on a number of varieties and differences. And so what they did was the control group, let's see, trying to remember exactly what that said. And I may just have to read that. The students in the controlled sample had a higher mean of mathematics test scores. However, the students differed on a number of important varieties, and I'll show on these. And so to account for the higher initial mean of the scores, the students were leveled and they went through a score match process. And that's what these tables show. Now, they did GT, ESL, English as a second language, and LEP, which is limited English proficiency. So they were all male. And here's the results of this one. This is before matching. Table 1 and 2 obviously is going to show the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the treatment and the control groups, and their ethnicity. They broke it down not only by grade, but then if they were Asian, African American, Hispanic, or white. I'll give you a second to look at those. Very interesting. Now, after the matching with the GT, the ESL, and the LEP, again, all male, the treatment and the control. So remember, the treatment had the interactive whiteboard and the control did not. So really no change there whatsoever. Now, in the others here, let's see. This is not the one I'm looking for. And I apologize. This breaks it down again to the match. And here we go. Right here, the African American, their standard deviations are shown. They're mean from their post-test to their pre-test. Okay, and then it also breaks it down the results from the difference between a white and African American, a white and a Hispanic and African American. And if you notice, the standard deviation over on the very far right is larger for the white, between the white and the African American. The other two are smaller. So, with that said, the results showed that there was not a statistically significant effect by using the inner whiteboard instruction with the overall achievement of the students. And this could be because maybe the teacher did not have enough training on the subject. Maybe that the students that are low income or in poverty, maybe they're not as familiar with technology, or their socioeconomic status. Maybe they have a little bit more of a disadvantage because of the knowledge of the technology, and maybe, like I said, lack of training with the technology in the teacher's instructions. So there could be different reasons of why this maybe didn't work as well as maybe they planned. So I feel like that the teacher was trained properly and used the interactive whiteboards the way to their potential. I think there could be a little bit more change in from pre-test and post-test and things. So anyway, before I get any more tongue-tied, this is the reference from the journal, and thank y'all for your time.